it's heed. I got so many pimples right now. God damn. I thought I'd make kind of a rambly video with me moving around the whole time. I hope it's not too annoying with the like background sound and background movement for me. I'm going on a walk in the woods. Saw some bunny tracks and dog tracks and people tracks. I love finding tracks in the snow. It's beautiful out here. A while back, well, quite a while ago, like a couple years ago, I saw this video. The first video that made me think that I had autism was one by Autism from the Inside, Paul McAuliffe, and I just really connected with the things that he said in that video. It wasn't very many things, and it made me think like, oh shit, I think I might be onto something, and it triggered me to start writing, and I wrote so much. Even about things that I was like, I'm not sure if this does connect. This seems kind of like, maybe it's pointing in the opposite direction, like being very imaginative. But now that I understand more, I realize that that's kind of just an idea that some people have, and it's not necessarily correct. Autistic people can be very creative and stuff. So, yeah, it's been so great. Like, it's been such a good journey to go on in my mind of like, I was really thinking of myself in a negative way, kind of. Like that I was crazy and that I needed to like cover up the way I was. This was kind of a really positive direction to be like, maybe there's not something wrong with me. Maybe I'm just different. So that's the first part. Then I saw some Yosemite Sam videos too, and I saw one just kind of randomly come up. I mean, they're all just randomly come up. I basically just watch YouTube with the recommendations. Now sometimes it's been annoying, so I've been clicking on my subscriptions, just clicking subscriptions, so it only shows, like, I have so many people I'm subscribed to, so it is probably better to just see people that I'm subscribed to, because it is a lot. It's not like I won't have enough variety with that. And also, do I want it to be a variety? Like, sometimes I'm, like, really hoping for a specific thing. Like, I watch a lot of Dr. Grande videos that are about, like, murders. Most of them are about murders, crimes. But they're very formulaic and comforting. Anyway, back to this Yosemite Sam video. So, this one that showed up was, would you maybe have ADHD and autism? And I am now on ADHD meds, which I was thinking made a really big difference. And now that I've been looking at it for a while, I realize, yeah, I definitely have ADHD. There's no question. Like, it answers so many questions about me. Like, about my working memory being so shit. And, like, being so distractible. There's so many things that are just, like, clicking with me now that I'm like, wow, yeah, I for sure have ADHD. And also, how did no one know? It's kind of confusing. But anyway, in this Yosemite Sam video, she was saying how, like, one of the signs, I think that she said in there, was that you have both, is that you don't really seem to fit in quite with the ADHD people, and, like, people who just have ADHD, and you don't really seem to quite fit in with the people with autism. And I definitely could see that at first more easily about the ADHD people. I was like, I don't know. I don't really fit in with these people. And that's what made me think I don't have ADHD. Like, especially sometimes people would talk about having such a hard time in school. And I was like, no, that doesn't fit me at all. And also I don't know if it's so much like other people telling you that you're lazy, like this idea that a person with ADHD is lazy. I never connected with that. People didn't say I was lazy. I mean, I wouldn't have stood for it. I wouldn't have allowed that. Like, I'm not lazy. I'm very willing to work hard. I wouldn't even say that I'm not motivated. I am motivated in lots of different ways. like some unhealthy ways, like thinking that I need everyone to be like pleased with me, and like I need to measure up to people's expectations. I know in my mind that it's like, that's silly, you don't really have to do that, but I do feel really a lot of pressure about it, and especially like as a parent too, because then it brings in like a fear of like, if I'm a bad parent, if people see me as a bad parent, is that going to get me into trouble? Like, could that make me be investigated or something? Like, it's scary. It's very scary to me. I'm very paranoid about it. I'm very worried about it. And I've heard sometimes autistic women, specifically mothers, talking about how they were like kind of afraid of not seeming warm. Like, people have called me aloof before a lot, and like I can come off as arrogant. I'm not very touchy-feely. And like I've noticed before in my life that it's like people who I really care about, I think, don't even realize that I like them. So I try to be more obvious with it, like verbally now, to just say like, I think you're pretty rad, you know, like, and stuff like that. Let people know, because I'm afraid otherwise they really won't know that I think they're really cool. And one of the things I'm interested in about people is uniqueness. Like if they seem different, or there's some aspect of their experience that I'm like, I want to know more about that. Like, I love to explore another person's mind, as long as they're letting me in enough to give me anything to be curious about, which sometimes is an issue. Like, I know this is crazy to say, but I would say about my husband that it feels like he's so closed up that I'm afraid to... I don't feel like I'm able to find out about things to be curious about. It's kind of keeping me out. He should be a very interesting person, but he's not being very forthcoming. So then, I mean, if you're not giving me anything to be interested in, I'm not going to be interested. I don't know. And also sometimes just, I'm trying to have a conversation with him. Definitely try to have a conversation with him sometimes at the wrong time, where it's just like, yeah, he's in the middle of something. He can't talk right now. But to me, it's like, oh, the idea has struck. It has to be discussed right now, right? See, that sounds like an ADHD thing. But yeah, back to what I was saying. See, tangents like crazy. That's ADHD. And this feeling of needing a reward, or needing a reward for doing what I'm supposed to do. But not just about a reward. That's related to dopamine, right? And that is a brain difference that you can fix with medication, which is what my medication does. So, like, that's one thing too that I'm like, yeah, the medication changed me into someone who's not smoking weed all the time to get my dopamine. Instead, I just take my medication and I can just carry on with my life, do the things I'm supposed to do, and I feel fine with it. I don't feel like, I don't know, maybe that kind of like a sense of that I'm being taken advantage of. Like, I keep doing all the things I'm supposed to do, but I don't have a sense of accomplishment. The other part is, see, that's all ADHD. And the other part about ADHD too is understanding the consequences and like the impulsiveness. Like, this is terrible to say, but I kind of think that when I'm driving and I do all the driving, I don't really care that much. I wonder if, like, maybe it could be kind of a side effect of the antidepressants that I'm on. I'm on Effexor. And the stimulant medication, too. I take both of them every morning at the same time. Like, I feel like I just kind of don't give a fuck when I'm driving. Like, no, I don't give enough of a shit about driving Like, I'm not getting into accidents all the time. I haven't been getting in accidents at all since I moved here. Except for one time, before my daughter was born, where I totaled the car. So, like, I guess my driving is fine. But I just feel like I barely care at all when I'm driving. Which seems not good to me. That seems a bit worrying. But just because it seems a bit worrying doesn't make me start caring. Like, I guess that doesn't give me enough motivation. Because I used to be really uptight about my driving. And I still am. Like, if I realize that I've made a mistake with driving, it makes me feel very worried. Like, sometimes, like, if I make a turn carefully, but then afterward I realize that I actually forgot to signal, it kind of freaks me out. Because it's like, you signal every time. How could you have not signaled? It's like it's a loss of trust in myself. It's disturbing. Just like how, like, so I'm really one to always put things back where it was. I feel like that's an autistic thing. I always put things back where it was, except for sometimes I don't. And then when I realize that I'm the one who didn't put it back, like, I would at first automatically think if it's not where it's supposed to be, that it must be because of someone else. Because I'm so good about it. But sometimes, like, it definitely was me. I just put it in a different spot. That's not where, like, it's not that I changed where I think it should go. It's I just didn't put it where it's supposed to go. And again, it's like that loss of trust. Like, I have, I remember at one point about autism now, I took the systemizing quotient. I don't know, it's really tough to interpret. Like, obviously that kind of questionnaire would be inherently difficult to make, because how do you know what kind of things the person would have a system for? And you have to ask specific questions. So, like, you could just be kind of barking up the wrong tree where the person doesn't have a system. Like, I can't remember how high I scored. I did write it down, but I can't check right now. But I think I definitely am a systematizer. Like, I have a system for a lot of different things. Like, for instance, the toilet paper in the bathroom. We have this little stand thing that can fit 3 rolls of toilet paper. And every time, if you empty the toilet paper roll, you just take it off the thing and put a new one on. And I do that until I'm on the last one. Once I'm on the last one and I put the last roll of toilet paper from the 3 onto the thing, then I go in the cupboard and get more toilet paper, get the 3 rolls and put them on the rack again. And then, if I see that now there's no more toilet paper left or it's running low, I just write down, we need to get toilet paper. It doesn't mean I'm going to go to the store right away, but if I do go to the store, it'll be already on my list, so I know, oh, one of the things to get is toilet paper. Right? And there's lots of things like that. Like, also the way I load the dishwasher. That's something that's more new to me because it's since my move. I moved in October. I didn't have a dishwasher before that. I'm still kind of not sure about it, but I've started to develop a way of loading the dishwasher. I recently learned on the Autistic Culture podcast, which I love. And another side note, I really love so many autistic content creators. Like, listening to them is so soothing in a way. Like, it's such a relief to know that you're not alone and that people get at least some parts of the way that you are, you know? I mean, my husband could very well be autistic too. Maybe it's more likely that he's autistic than ADHD. I thought maybe ADHD more so because of how a person could see him as lazy. But then also, like, you might think that about someone with depression too, right? If they just are not having energy, so they're not doing things, you could think they're lazy. I don't know. Right, about the dishwasher. Back to that. And I learned from this podcast that the proper way to put cutlery in the dishwasher is to put it handle up. it will get cleaner that way. I was doing it the other way because I thought it would make the part that I have to eat off of get cleaner by having it up. And then just be careful when you're taking it out that you don't like cut yourself on the knives and stuff. But yeah, so today when I loaded the dishwasher, I did it the other way. Or yesterday actually. Yeah, I started putting it in the other way so the handles are up. And when I went to unload it, I was like, hey, yeah, this is actually really nice. It's nice to be able to pull things out with the handle instead of like having to really pay attention to what you're doing at that point. Because it's such a kind of like menial task. And also, another thing, I was listening to a bunch of YouTube videos. I finally found some content about ADHD that piqued my interest, because that was the problem. For me, it was so easy to find content from autistic creators that piqued my interest. Like, anytime if the person says that they're autistic, I'm like, yes, okay, I want to hear whatever they're going to say. And I'll listen to a few of their videos. A lot of times, like, I really catch on. Certain people, I'm like, yes, I want to listen to everything this person has to say. Like one of the ones I really like is Sensory Overlord. I really like her content. It seems so well thought out and relatable to me. Shit, I can't remember where I'm going with this. I kind of was confused. When I recently went to the emergency room, I was talking to this nurse about ADHD because I was worried about my medications interacting, which is an antidepressant, Effexor, and my ADHD meds, which is Vyvanse. It even mentioned it in the booklet not to combine them. But the doctor reassured me. But anyway, this nurse, I was talking to her about what it's like. I was saying that, like, I was experiencing anxiety, I thought. And that I thought that seemed logical because I was on a stimulant. So, of course, you're going to be anxious with the stimulant. But then she said, no, not really for people with ADHD. They are kind of soothed by it. And, like, with a cup of tea, which is how I normally get my caffeine. I sometimes have coffee, but not really that much. I only really like Tim's coffee. I don't like coffee that tastes more like coffee. You know that coffee that really tastes like coffee? It's not for me. The only kind I really like is Tim's coffee because it's kind of sweet. It's more sweet. Anyway, well, I learned about this idea at one point about holding the warm drink and drinking the warm drink, how it's just soothing naturally to humans. Having the warm drink is soothing. Like if someone is upset, you know, on the Big Bang Theory, Sheldon says, if someone is upset, you should offer them a cup of tea. That makes sense, right? So I could definitely see that, but like, I definitely kind of have had too much coffee. Like, I think I am kind of sensitive to caffeine. Like, in my mind, it would be basically totally insane if I had 2 energy drinks. That would be way over the top. Like, I would be scary and intense. I do think of, like, if I was having a day where I felt kind of weak, in a way, like mentally weak, like that, and I had to socialize, I would probably think that having a caffeine, having an energy drink, would help me to be able to handle it. Like, it would build up my strength, maybe make me more confident. I don't associate energy drinks with being soothing. They're exciting and fun, kind of more. And I don't drink them now because I read that it can be risky with my antidepressant. It said can increase risk of serotonin syndrome, I think. I really don't know how to do research. That's something I meant to ask. I saw Autistic Jenny put up a community post or whatever saying about what we wanted the next collab to be about. And I meant to say on there and come back. Maybe I still will remember. It's bunny, right? Check this out, you guys. That's a bunny, right? Oh, maybe it's not. Is it? Can you see the tracks? Maybe it's not. Shit, what was I saying? Oh yeah, about research. Because I've often heard on different autistic creators' channels them talking about research and how we love research. But I don't really identify with that. I used to kind of have this hang up when I was in school about, like, I don't have to learn things right now because I'm not at school, which is so silly because I'm such a curious person. So research was never really my thing, and like picking up a book to learn from it specifically wasn't really my type of thing. Like I definitely preferred fiction. And that was another thing where I was like, that comes up on some of the questionnaires. Like, do you not like fiction? And I just thought right away, like, no, I love fiction. It's the shit. I've also been seeing now, though, that true stories are also interesting. And even not stories are also really interesting. I'm reading right now a book of essays, which I'm loving. Shit, don't tell me I lost the plot now. What did I say about autistic Jenny? Research. Yeah, help with research. Yeah, I feel so confused when I try to look something up on Google. Like, I'll read a few different things. I don't look at the sponsored links or what the AI says. Well, I mean, I sometimes read what the AI says. But I'll read, like, the however far down to get to the not sponsored links. And read what they say. But sometimes, like, they don't agree with each other. Like, I remember when I was pregnant trying to figure out if certain things were, like, safe for me to do. And, like, reading a few of them. And it's like, yeah, it's perfectly safe. No, it's completely not safe. And it's like, what? So then I would just come away from it being like, I don't really know what to think here, so I guess I'm not going to do it. And it would just be like time after time after time. I feel like anyone else, like definitely my husband, is much more confident in his ability to like recognize, I guess, when he's looking at a good source or like understand. I don't know, man. It's not a strong area for me doing research, and I wish it was. Like, to me, one of the most valuable resources you can have is just a person to talk to, which is why I have done so much in my mind, I would say it's research, about autism through just finding autistic creators and listening to what they have to say about, especially a lot of times just about like their daily experiences, like just normal experiences that they have. And like specific areas where it's kind of different from other people's, right? And I've related to that so much. When I was looking at, yeah, good, I'm coming back to the point of ADHD too. When I was looking at, I tried to find out about ADHD in a similar way. I was just like, okay, well, I'll just look for people that have ADHD talking about the experience. And one of the things I found was how to ADHD, which is great, but something about it was kind of like, it's not exactly appealing to me. Well, it's short, and a lot of information coming to you quickly, which, I don't know, I guess maybe I would kind of prefer for the information to be a little bit more slow. Like, I find I can learn a lot from, like, a vlog of just, like, someone's day. And I don't mind watching a 20-minute video and only coming away with, like, one new thing from it. That's fine. Like, videos that are too informational to me, it can be a bit, it's overwhelming, and it makes me tempted to just write things down. And then I'm like pausing it because I need more time to write it down as they're saying things. It can be tough. So, I mean, I found other ADHD sources too, and some of them were more relatable to me. But it really wasn't as relatable as the autistic people. I mean, I think I definitely I have ADHD. I've been given a differential diagnosis of ADHD and borderline personality disorder. I'm not sure if I really think that I do have borderline. It could be correct, but it could also be that they're seeing things about ADHD and autism and just kind of confusing it. I know, like, I've heard lots of times people say that ADHD and autism are so much alike, and like you could be kind of mixing it up. It doesn't seem like that when you read the criteria. Like, it seems like it'd be so unrelated, but if you really think about it, it can be something that would require nuance. Like, same with BPD too. Compare BPD with autism. Sometimes you could talk about the same behaviors and just see them in a different way. To be like, well, the reason is this, so this is actually because of autism, not borderline. I don't know. And it could be both too. Like, just because you have autism does not mean that you don't have borderline personality disorder. So, like, it could be all three. I don't know. But yeah, I did find some more relatable ADHD people, and I did try to find auDHDers too. But it's just a funny thing. And I did eventually find some other types of ADHD content. Like, after I started the medication, I had some specific questions. Like, I wanted to just learn more about medication and what it was doing, what it was supposed to do. Because I didn't like the question that I was being asked, like, how do you think it's working for you? Or like, because it's like, what? I don't know. I think the person asked me if I found it was easier to focus. And I remember I did think when I very first took the medication, I did kind of have that moment of like, oh, like almost like everything went quiet. And it was like, oh, okay, I see. And I've heard like Irene from the Thought Spot talking about how she like got her ADHD symptoms so much under control, and that's what made it more obvious that she has autism, because once those things stopped distracting, she could see, and others could see, that she was also autistic. But from your inner experience, like personally at least, from my inner experience, I relate so strongly with autism and autistic people. Like, listening to an autistic person talk to me is so, it puts me at ease. It's like, this person gets it. This person isn't, like, they're kind of serious in a way, you know? Like, in a way, to me, it's like neurotypicals aren't serious enough. And ADHD people are even less serious in a way. I mean, sometimes, this is just generalizing, but like, it can kind of be like things are really light and like it's just silly with ADHD people. ADHDers, I guess I should say, do often have depression too. I don't know. And of course, people don't want to seem like they're really sad. Like, that makes sense. But for me, it's kind of alienating in a way when people are too happy seeming. It's like, oh, that really doesn't seem like me. Like, I don't want to seem like I'm about to kill myself or something. I hope I don't come across too happy or too depressed seeming. I mean, I am depressed sometimes, but I've been doing really pretty good. Oh yeah, I cut away from what I was saying there about the ADHD meds, didn't I? I found a few things that were talking about just ADHD meds. I found Hank Green on, I think it's called the Psy podcast or something, talking about how ADHD medication works and about dopamine and all that. That was really cool. And I found a few other things. One of them was on how to ADHD. That was really good about meds. And I found the other day, I think it's Dr. Russell Barkley. A bunch of his stuff. It's just educational stuff about ADHD and different ways to think about what ADHD is, that sort of type of thing. And that was really interesting. Like learning about executive function. Like a bunch of that content that I've consumed of his, I was like, wow, yeah, I am for sure. And it's almost like I have ADHD. And it's like, how did no one know? But there was no reason for anyone to be worried about me because I was quiet. I had some friends. Once I started causing trouble, like that was when I was in grade 10 already. And it's just like, that's just being a teenager. I mean, it should have seemed a bit worrying. It was shocking to people. Like, people were like, you know, you don't have to do everything at once. Because I was just like, I'm going to start skipping class. I'm going to start doing drugs. And just all kinds of, I'm going to start drinking. I'm going to smoke now. It was just so many different things, like going all kinds of different ways. Kind of a really self-destructive course all of a sudden. I mean, I was just so tired of it. I had been so motivated by this idea of impressing my dad, I guess. And then when I was 15, I was finally like old enough to realize it's like, buddy, it's not even going to happen. Forget it. Put it behind you. You are not going to impress him. There's no fucking way. So then I was like, well, whatever, fuck that guy. I'm going to just do whatever I want. And my motivation to do well in school or to behave was like completely gone. Because that's all it was. It was so based on just this one thing. But then going off on my own path, like doing my own thing, was kind of just, let's just head off towards self-destruction. And I don't know, I'm kind of disturbed to think that maybe it hasn't really come that far since then. I don't know. I've been a little bit crisising about whether I have autism. I was like, man, am I even autistic? Like, do I really have autism? I don't know if I would get an autism diagnosis. But there are so many things that I relate to. And definitely, like, thinking back to that video by Yosemite Sam talking about how you don't really fit in with the ADHDers and you don't really fit in with the autistics. Like, a lot of times I would see people with ADHD and certain things they say, I'm like, no, I don't really, like, struggling in school.